Have you ever walked out of a job interview and replayed every second in your mind?
Oh, yes. You start thinking, why did I say that? Why did I smile like that? Why did I suddenly forget every skill I have?
Exactly. And the worst part is when you know you are capable. You know you can do the job, but somehow, the moment the interview starts, everything changes.
Your hands get cold, your brain stops working. Simple questions suddenly feel impossible.
And then a few days later, you get the email.
We decided to move forward with another candidate.
That sentence hurts, especially when you really wanted the opportunity. But here's something important you need to hear. Most people are not failing interviews because they are not smart enough. They're failing because they do not understand what interviews are really testing.
That is such a good point, because a lot of people think interviews are only about qualifications.
But they're not. Interviews are often about confidence, communication, emotional control, and whether the company can imagine working with you every day.
So you could actually be more qualified than another person and still lose the job?
Absolutely. And that happens more often than people realize.
Wow, that is painful.
It is. But it's also good news, because if the problem is not your intelligence, then it means you can fix it.
And today, we're going to talk about the real reasons why people keep failing job interviews.
We're going to uncover the mistakes that most candidates don't even know they're making.
And I think a lot of viewers are going to recognize themselves in this conversation.
Probably. Maybe you've gone to 5 interviews and never got hired. Maybe you always feel nervous. Maybe you think, I don't know what's wrong with me.
Or maybe you think companies are just unfair.
Sometimes they are, but very often there's a hidden reason, a small mistake, a weak answer, a bad habit, something that quietly destroys your chances without you even noticing it.
And the scary part is that you can repeat the same mistake for years.
Exactly. That's why this episode matters, because once you see the pattern, you can change it.
And if you have ever failed an interview before, don't leave this episode halfway through, because one of the biggest mistakes people make happens before they even sit down in the interview room.
That one mistake alone can completely destroy your confidence before the interview even begins.
So stay with us, because what we're about to talk about might explain why your interviews keep going wrong.
And before we continue, comment below and tell us the strangest interview question you have ever been asked.
Some interview questions are so weird that they make you feel like you're in a movie.
And if you want to improve your English, your confidence, and your career communication skills, make sure you subscribe to Talk Easy Daily.
Because the way you speak can change your entire future.
And in the next part, we're going to start with one of the biggest interview killers of all.
Poor preparation.
Poor preparation is one of the biggest reasons people fail interviews.
And I think a lot of people believe they are prepared when they are actually not.
Exactly. Many people prepare in the wrong way. They memorize answers. They practice saying, I'm hardworking, I'm motivated, I'm a team player.
Those answers sound so boring.
Because they are, and interviewers hear them every single day. Imagine sitting in a room listening to 20 people say exactly the same thing.
You would stop believing any of them.
That's exactly what happens. A lot of candidates prepare by collecting perfect answers from the internet, but the problem is that those answers don't sound real.
They sound robotic.
Yes, and when you sound robotic, the interviewer starts feeling disconnected from you. They can't see your personality. They can't imagine who you are.
So preparation is not about memorizing words.
No, good preparation means understanding yourself. You should know your strengths, your weaknesses, your experiences, and your stories.
Stories are so important.
They are powerful because stories feel real. For example, if the interviewer asks, "Are you good at solving problems?" don't just say, "Yes, I'm good at solving problems."
That answer is too simple.
Instead, tell a short story. Say something like, in my previous job, we had a client complaint that nobody could solve. I spent extra time understanding the problem, found the mistake in the system, and the client ended up thanking us.
That answer feels much stronger.
Because now the interviewer can see you doing something. They're not just hearing a claim, they're seeing proof.
I think that's one of the biggest mistakes people make. They describe themselves instead of proving themselves.
Exactly. And here's another mistake. Many people never research the company before the interview.
That's such a huge mistake.
Imagine this. The interviewer asks, "Why do you want to work here?" And the candidate says, "Because I need a job."
Oh no, that sounds terrible.
It sounds desperate, and companies don't want to feel like you would accept any job from anyone.
They want to feel special.
Exactly. They want to believe that you chose them for a reason, so before every interview, you should spend time learning about the company.
Look at their website, their products, their social media, maybe even recent news.
Yes, find something specific that you genuinely like. Maybe you admire their customer service. Maybe you like their company culture. Maybe they're growing quickly. Maybe they work on interesting projects.
Then, when they ask why you want the job, you have a real answer.
And that instantly makes you stand out because most candidates don't do this.
That's surprising because it's such a simple thing.
It is simple, but most people are lazy, and interviews reward preparation.
There's another thing people forget to prepare for.
What's that?
Their own resume.
That's so true. You'd be shocked how many people forget what they wrote on their own CV.
And then the interviewer asks about a project or a skill, and suddenly the candidate freezes.
That creates a terrible impression, because if you can't confidently talk about your own experience, then why should the interviewer trust you?
It makes you look unprepared and uncertain.
Before every interview, you should read your resume carefully. Think about every line. Ask yourself, if they ask me about this experience, what will I say?
Because every sentence on your resume is a possible interview question.
Exactly. If you wrote that you're good at leadership, be ready to explain when you showed leadership.
If you wrote that you're organized, be ready to prove it.
And if you wrote something just to make your resume look impressive, be careful.
Because they might ask you about it.
And that's when people get caught.
I remember someone once told me they put advanced Excel skills on their resume, even though they barely knew how to use Excel.
That's dangerous.
During the interview, the manager started asking technical questions and they couldn't answer anything.
That's exactly why honesty matters. Never lie in an interview. You might think the lie makes you look stronger, but if the interviewer catches you, your credibility disappears immediately.
And once trust is broken, it's over.
Exactly. Here's a quick tip for everyone watching. Before your next interview, record yourself answering common questions.
That's uncomfortable.
Very uncomfortable, but it works because when you watch yourself, you notice things you never realized before.
Like speaking too fast.
Or saying every 3 seconds.
Or looking nervous.
Or giving answers that are too long and confusing.
That's actually such a smart exercise.
It is, because self-awareness is one of the fastest ways to improve.
And I think a lot of people avoid practicing because they think practice will make them feel fake.
But practice doesn't make you fake. Practice makes you clear.
That's such an important difference.
Think about athletes. Think about actors. Think about musicians. They practice constantly.
But when they perform, it still feels natural.
Exactly, because preparation creates confidence, and confidence changes everything in an interview.
Speaking of confidence, there's another major reason people fail interviews.
Nervousness.
This is a huge one.
Absolutely, because even people who are qualified can lose opportunities if they look too nervous.
And I think everybody gets nervous in interviews.
Of course, that's normal. The problem is not feeling nervous. The problem is letting nervousness control you.
You can always tell when someone is overwhelmed by nerves.
Yes, they speak too quickly, they avoid eye contact, they give short answers. Sometimes they even apologize too much.
Exactly. They say things like, "Sorry, I'm nervous. Sorry, I forgot. Sorry, I'm bad at interviews."
That instantly makes them look less confident.
And confidence matters because interviewers often assume that confident people will perform better at work.
Even if that is not always true.
True. Some very talented people are shy or nervous, but interviews are about perception.
That is such an important word, perception.
The interviewer is not only judging what you know, they are judging how you present yourself.
So how can people control nervousness?
First, arrive early.
That makes a big difference.
If you arrive late or rushed, your stress level becomes much worse. But if you arrive early, you have time to breathe, relax, and settle your mind.
Another good tip is to stop seeing the interviewer as someone powerful and scary.
That is a great point. Many people enter interviews thinking, this person is above me, they are judging me.
Which creates pressure immediately.
Instead, try to see the interview as a conversation. You are not begging for a job. You are exploring whether this opportunity is a good match for both sides.
That mindset feels so much healthier.
It does, because when you feel equal, you speak more naturally.
I think breathing is important too.
Very important. Before the interview, take slow, deep breaths. It sounds simple, but it really helps calm your body.
And if you start feeling nervous during the interview,
Pause. Take 1 second. You do not have to answer immediately.
that is true. People think silence is bad.
But a short pause actually makes you look thoughtful. It's much better than speaking too quickly and saying something confusing.
That is such a useful tip, because when people panic, they rush.
Exactly. And rushing creates mistakes.
Here is something else I noticed. A lot of people think they need to act like a completely different person in interviews.
That is another problem.
They become too formal, too serious, too unnatural.
And then their personality disappears.
Which is ironic because companies want to know who you really are.
Exactly. You do not need to become a robot. You do not need to sound perfect. You just need to sound real, professional, and confident.
So if you are friendly in real life, be friendly.
Yes, if you are naturally calm, be calm. The goal is not to create a fake version of yourself. The goal is to present the best version of yourself.
That is such a powerful idea.
And in the next part, we are going to talk about another mistake that quietly destroys interviews.
Bad communication.
Because sometimes it's not what you say.
It is how you say it.
Bad communication ruins more interviews than people realize.
Because you can have amazing skills, but if you can't communicate them clearly, the interviewer may never understand your value.
Exactly. A lot of people know what they want to say in their mind, but when they start speaking, everything becomes messy.
They talk too much.
Or too little.
Or they jump from one topic to another and confuse the interviewer.
And once the interviewer becomes confused, it becomes very difficult to recover.
I think one of the biggest communication mistakes is giving answers that are too long.
Absolutely. Some candidates answer one simple question with a 5-minute story.
And halfway through, even they forget what the question was.
Exactly. If the interviewer asks, "Tell me about a challenge you faced," they don't need your entire life story.
They just want a clear example.
This is why structure matters. A very useful method is simple. First, explain the situation, then explain what you did, then explain the result.
That makes answers feel organized.
Very organized. For example, imagine the interviewer asks, "Tell me about a time you handled a difficult customer."
A lot of people would panic immediately.
But if you use structure, it becomes easier. You could say, "A customer was upset because their order arrived late. I listened carefully, apologized, offered a solution, and followed up later. In the end, the customer stayed with the company."
That sounds professional and easy to understand.
Exactly. The interviewer gets the full picture without feeling lost.
Another mistake people make is speaking too quietly.
Yes, if you speak too softly, you can seem uncertain.
Even if you are smart.
Exactly. Your voice creates an impression before your words do.
That is so true. If someone says, "I think I could maybe do this job," in a very quiet voice, it sounds weak.
Compare that to someone saying, "I believe my experience in customer service and problem solving would help me succeed in this role."
Same idea, but much stronger.
Strong communication does not mean being loud. It means being clear and confident.
And I think eye contact matters too.
Very much. Eye contact shows confidence, honesty, and attention.
But some people avoid eye contact because they are nervous.
That is common. But if you look down the whole time, the interviewer may think you are insecure or hiding something.
So what is the right balance?
Look at the interviewer naturally while speaking and listening. You do not need to stare at them without blinking.
That would be terrifying.
Exactly. Just keep natural eye contact like you would in a normal conversation.
Here is another communication mistake people make. They interrupt.
That is a big one.
Sometimes they get so excited or nervous that they start talking before the interviewer finishes the question.
And that can seem disrespectful.
Or impatient.
Good communication is not only about speaking, it's also about listening.
That is such an important point.
Some of the best interview candidates are good listeners. They pay attention. They answer the actual question. They notice what the interviewer cares about.
Because sometimes interviewers give you clues.
Exactly. If they keep mentioning teamwork, they probably value teamwork. If they keep mentioning deadlines, they probably need someone who can manage pressure.
So if you listen carefully, you can adapt your answers.
Yes, you can highlight the experiences and strengths that matter most to them.
I think there is another problem that hurts communication.
What is it?
Using too many negative words.
That is very true. Some candidates accidentally make themselves sound negative without realizing it.
Like saying, I hated my old boss, or my last company was terrible.
That is dangerous. Even if your old job was genuinely awful, speaking negatively makes you seem difficult.
Because the interviewer starts thinking, will this person complain about us too?
Exactly. Employers want positive, solution-focused people.
So instead of saying, I left because my manager was horrible, you could say, I wanted an opportunity with more growth and better alignment with my goals.
Much better. Same truth, but more professional.
And I think people also make the mistake of oversharing.
Yes, an interview is not therapy.
That sounds harsh, but it is true.
Some candidates reveal too much personal information. They talk about family problems, financial stress, relationship issues.
Which can make the conversation uncomfortable.
Exactly. Keep your answers professional. You can be warm and personal, but you do not need to share every detail of your life.
That is such an important balance.
Here's a quick challenge for everyone watching. Think about the last interview you had.
Ask yourself honestly, did I answer clearly or did I just talk a lot?
That question alone can reveal a huge weakness.
Because many people think they are communicating well when they are actually confusing everyone around them.
Exactly. And if you want to improve your communication, there is one habit that can completely transform you.
Reading?
Reading helps, but the habit I'm talking about is speaking out loud every day.
Really?
Yes. Practice speaking clearly. Talk to yourself. Record your voice. Explain ideas in English. Describe your day. Tell stories.
Because communication is a skill.
Exactly. And like every skill, it gets stronger with practice.
You know what's interesting? Sometimes people fail interviews not because they say the wrong thing, but because their body language sends the wrong message.
That is a huge topic.
Because even before you speak, your body is already communicating something.
Absolutely. Your posture, your facial expression, your handshake, your energy, all of these things create a first impression.
And first impressions happen so fast.
Sometimes in the first few seconds.
That is scary.
It is, but it is also useful because small changes in body language can create a huge difference.
For example, if someone walks into the room looking down, shoulders low, no smile, weak handshake,
They immediately seem nervous or low energy.
Even before they say hello.
Exactly. But as someone walks in with good posture, a calm smile, and steady energy, they instantly seem more confident.
It is amazing how much people judge based on small details.
Human beings do it automatically. We notice energy before words.
So what are some body language mistakes people should avoid?
First, avoid closed body language.
What does that mean?
Crossing your arms, looking down, hiding your hands, turning your body away.
Those things make you look uncomfortable.
Exactly. Open body language feels warmer and more confident.
Another mistake is moving too much.
Yes, shaking your leg, touching your face, playing with your pen, adjusting your clothes every few seconds.
Nervous habits.
Exactly. They make you look anxious.
I think smiling matters too.
Very much. You do not need to smile every second like a robot.
That would be strange.
But a genuine smile at the beginning and during natural moments can make you seem friendly and approachable.
Which is important because people want to work with people they like.
Exactly. Skills matter, experience matters, but people also hire people they feel comfortable around.
That is such a big truth.
And in the next part, we're going to talk about one of the most dangerous interview mistakes of all.
Trying too hard to impress?
Because sometimes the more desperately you try to look perfect, the worse you actually look. Trying too hard to impress is one of the fastest ways to fail an interview.
That sounds strange because most people think they need to impress the interviewer as much as possible.
Of course you want to impress them, but there is a difference between showing your strengths and acting like someone you are not.
And people can usually feel when someone is being fake.
Exactly. Some candidates try so hard to sound intelligent that they use complicated words they don't normally use.
And then they sound unnatural.
Or they exaggerate their experience.
Or pretend they know everything.
That's a huge mistake, because when you pretend to know everything, the interviewer may ask deeper questions.
And that's when everything falls apart.
Exactly. Imagine someone says, I'm an expert in project management software.
But in reality, they only used it one time.
Then the interviewer asks, which tools did you use? How did you manage deadlines? What reporting system did you prefer?
Suddenly, the candidate starts sweating.
Exactly. And the interviewer realizes that the person exaggerated.
I think people do this because they're afraid that being honest will make them look weak.
That's true, but honesty is usually more powerful than pretending.
So instead of saying, I'm an expert, you could say, I have some experience with this software and I'm learning more.
That sounds much more credible.
And companies actually respect people who are honest about what they know and what they still need to improve.
Absolutely. Nobody expects you to know everything. Employers are not looking for perfection. They are looking for potential, attitude, and honesty.
That is such a relief for people watching this.
It should be, because many candidates destroy themselves by trying to look flawless.
Another way people try too hard to impress is by talking non-stop about themselves.
That's a great point. They think, I need to tell them every achievement, every skill, every success.
But then the conversation becomes one-sided.
Exactly. Good interviews feel natural. They feel like a conversation, not a performance.
So instead of trying to dominate the interview, you should focus on connection.
Yes, people hire people they connect with.
That reminds me of something really interesting. Sometimes two candidates have similar skills, similar experience, and similar education.
But one gets hired.
Because they simply felt easier to talk to.
Exactly. The interviewer thought, I can imagine working with this person every day.
That is such a powerful advantage.
It is, and here's something that surprises many people. Being too serious can hurt you.
Really?
Yes, of course you should be professional, but if you were too stiff, too formal, too cold, you can seem difficult to work with.
So it's okay to smile, laugh a little, and show personality?
Absolutely. A little warmth can make a huge difference.
I remember one interview where I was trying so hard to be serious that I looked angry.
That happens more often than people realize.
The interviewer smiled and I barely reacted because I was so focused on looking professional.
And then afterwards, you probably realize that you could have relaxed more.
Exactly. I thought, why was I acting like a robot?
Many people do that. They think interviews are about becoming someone else.
But actually, the best interviews happen when you feel comfortable enough to be yourself.
Exactly. Professional, but human.
There's another mistake people make when they're trying too hard to impress.
Let me guess. They talk badly about other candidates.
Yes.
That's a terrible idea.
Some people say things like, I know I'm better than most people applying for this job.
That can make you sound arrogant.
Or insecure.
Exactly. Confidence is attractive. Arrogance is not.
So instead of attacking others, focus on your own value.
Yes, talk about what you can bring to the role. Talk about your experience, your mindset, your willingness to learn.
Because interviewers want someone who's confident and easy to work with.
Exactly. Here's a myth that a lot of people believe.
What is it?
They believe the person who talks the most wins the interview.
That is definitely not true.
Not at all. Sometimes the strongest candidates are the ones who answer clearly, listen carefully, and stay calm.
Because confidence is often quiet.
That is such a powerful sentence.
Confidence is often quiet.
The people who constantly try to prove themselves are often the least secure.
And the people who are calm usually trust themselves more.
Exactly. Here's a quick tip for everyone watching. The next time you go to an interview, stop asking yourself, how can I impress them?
Instead, ask, how can I connect with them?
That one change in mindset can completely change your energy.
And probably make you less nervous, too.
Definitely. Because now you're not performing, you're communicating.
There's another huge mistake people make near the end of interviews.
Let me guess. They don't ask questions.
Exactly.
That's one of the most overlooked mistakes of all.
Because many people think the interview is over once the interviewer says, do you have any questions for us?
And then they say, no, I think everything is clear.
Which sounds polite, but it can hurt you.
Very much. Because asking questions shows interest.
It shows curiosity.
It shows that you're thinking seriously about the role.
So what kind of questions should people ask?
Good questions could be, what does success look like in this role? Or what are the biggest challenges the team is facing right now?
Those questions sound smart.
Because they're focused on the future, they show that you are already imagining yourself in the job.
I think another great question is, what do you enjoy most about working here?
That's excellent. It creates a more human conversation.
And it can reveal a lot about the company culture.
Exactly. Here's one thing people should avoid.
Asking only about salary and vacation days?
Yes, those things matter, of course, but if those are your only questions, you can seem more interested in benefits than in the job itself.
That makes sense.
Try to ask at least 2 or 3 thoughtful questions.
Because the interview is not only about them choosing you.
It's also about you choosing them.
That mindset is so important.
It changes your energy completely. You stop feeling desperate.
And when people stop feeling desperate, they usually perform much better.
Exactly. Now here's something interesting. A lot of interviews are lost after the interview ends.
Wait, what?
Yes, people think once they leave the room, the process is finished.
But it's not.
Not always. One of the smartest things you can do is send a thank you message after the interview.
That sounds so simple.
It is simple, but very powerful. A short message thanking the interviewer for their time can make you more memorable.
Especially if there were many candidates.
Exactly. You can say something like, "Thank you for speaking with me today. I enjoyed learning more about the role and the company. I'm very excited about the opportunity."
That sounds professional and warm.
And most people never do it.
Which means if you do it, you stand out immediately.
Exactly. Small actions create big differences.
That is such a good lesson, not only for interviews, but for life.
Absolutely. Success often comes from small details that other people ignore.
And in the next part, we are going to talk about real-life interview stories.
Stories where tiny mistakes completely destroyed great opportunities.
And stories where simple changes helped people finally get hired.
I once knew someone named Daniel who failed 7 interviews in a row.
7?
7. And every time he came home feeling worse about himself.
I can imagine. After a few failures, you start believing something is wrong with you.
Exactly. He started thinking, maybe I'm not smart enough. Maybe I'm just bad at interviews.
That is such a painful feeling.
It is. But when he finally asked someone to do a mock interview with him, they discovered the real problem immediately.
What was it?
Daniel answered every question with almost no detail. If someone asked, "Tell me about yourself," he would say, "I worked in retail for 3 years, and I'm hardworking."
That is so short.
Exactly. He gave answers that were too simple. The interviewer could not understand who he was, what he had done, or why he was valuable.
So the issue was not that he had no experience.
Not at all. He actually had good experience. He just did not know how to explain it.
That is such an important lesson.
It is. Once he learned to tell short stories and give examples, everything changed.
Did he finally get hired?
Yes, 2 interviews later.
Wow.
And that's why communication matters so much. You may already have the skills. You just need to learn how to show them.
That reminds me of another story. I knew a woman who kept getting interviews but never got the job.
What was happening?
She was very intelligent, very experienced, but she always looked extremely nervous.
That can really affect the outcome.
During interviews, she would avoid eye contact, speak very quietly, and play with her hands constantly.
So even though she had strong skills, she did not look confident.
Exactly. And one day, she decided to practice in front of a mirror every night.
That's a great idea.
She practiced smiling, making eye contact, and slowing down her speech.
Sometimes small physical habits can completely change how people see you.
That is exactly what happened. Her next interview felt completely different.
Because her body language changed.
Yes, and for the first time, the interviewer saw confidence instead of fear.
That's such a powerful example.
I think many viewers need to hear this. Sometimes your biggest problem is not your resume.
It's the energy you bring into the room.
Exactly.
Here's another story. A man applied for a management position at a large company.
Okay.
On paper, he looked perfect. great experience, great education, great achievements.
So what went wrong?
During the interview, he spent almost the entire time talking about how amazing he was.
Oh no.
He interrupted the interviewer. He bragged about being smarter than his previous coworkers. He criticized his old company. He even said, "I'm probably the strongest candidate you will interview."
That sounds very arrogant.
Exactly. And even though he had impressive qualifications, the company rejected him.
Because nobody wanted to work with him.
That's exactly what happened. Later, someone from the company said, "We knew he could do the job, but we did not want to spend every day with that personality."
That is such a huge lesson.
It is. Skills can get you an interview. Personality often gets you the job.
That's something a lot of people forget.
They do. They focus so much on sounding impressive that they forget to sound human.
Here's a story that still makes me laugh.
Go ahead.
A candidate was asked, "What is your biggest weakness?"
That question scares everyone.
Instead of giving a thoughtful answer, he said, "Honestly, I don't have any weaknesses."
That's one of the worst answers possible.
Exactly, because nobody believes that.
And it makes you sound arrogant or dishonest.
The interviewer asked again, "There must be something you're working on improving."
And what did he say?
He said, "I work too hard."
That answer is so common.
And so fake.
Exactly. Interviewers hear that answer all the time. So what should people say instead?
Choose a real weakness, but make sure it's not something that completely destroys your ability to do the job.
Can you give an example?
Sure. You could say, "Earlier in my career, I found it difficult to delegate tasks because I wanted to do everything myself. But over time, I learned that trusting the team actually leads to better results."
That answer sounds much more real,
Because it shows self-awareness and growth.
which is what companies want.
Exactly. Nobody expects you to be perfect, but they do want you to understand yourself.
That's such a big difference.
Here's another mistake people make in interviews. They become too desperate.
That can happen easily when someone really needs a job.
Of course, and it's understandable, but desperation creates pressure.
It changes the way you speak.
Exactly. When people are desperate, they agree with everything, they try too hard, and they stop acting naturally.
They almost look like they would accept anything. And strangely, that can make employers less interested.
Why do you think that happens?
Because confidence is attractive. People trust candidates who seem calm, balanced, and selective.
So if you look desperate, it can create the impression that nobody else wants you.
Exactly. That may not be true, but perception matters.
That word again.
Perception changes everything in interviews.
I think a lot of people watching this have probably had one terrible interview experience that they still remember years later.
Absolutely. Maybe you forgot your words. Maybe you arrived late. Maybe you answered a question badly.
Maybe you walked out and wanted to disappear.
That happens to almost everyone at some point.
Even successful people.
Especially successful people. Most successful people have failed many interviews.
That's so important to remember.
Because rejection doesn't mean you're not good enough.
Sometimes it just means you weren't the right fit,
Exactly. Or maybe you made one mistake and learned from it.
which means the failure was not useless.
Not at all. Every bad interview can teach you something valuable.
That's such a healthy way to see it.
Think about it this way. If you failed 10 interviews but finally get the right job, those 10 failures were part of the process.
They were training.
Exactly. Training for the opportunity that finally changes your life.
That's such a motivating thought.
It is. And in the next part, we're going to go deeper.
We're going to talk about the hidden psychology behind interviews, why interviewers make fast judgments, why confidence matters so much, and how you can make people trust you faster.
Because once you understand the psychology, interviews start feeling much less mysterious.
So, what are interviewers really judging in those first few minutes?
They are asking themselves questions like, do I trust this person? Would I enjoy working with this person? Does this person seem confident? Can this person handle pressure?
And they decide all of that very quickly?
Very quickly. That is why first impressions matter so much.
Which means the first 30 seconds of an interview are incredibly important.
Absolutely. The way you walk in, the way you smile, the way you say hello, the way you sit down, these small details create an emotional impression before the real interview even begins.
That is so interesting, because a lot of people focus only on their answers.
But the interviewer is already forming opinions before you answer the first question.
So if you walk in looking nervous, avoiding eye contact, speaking softly,
The interviewer may already think, this person lacks confidence.
even if that is not true.
Exactly. And once people form a first impression, they often look for evidence to support it.
Wait, that is so true.
It happens all the time. If the interviewer thinks you are confident, they may interpret your mistakes more positively.
Like, oh, they're just a little nervous.
Exactly. But if they think you are weak or unprepared, then every small mistake feels bigger.
That is scary.
It is, but it also means you should focus on creating a strong start.
What does a strong start look like?
Calm energy, a smile, good posture, a clear voice, friendly eye contact.
So, simple things.
Yes, interviews are often won or lost through simple things.
There's another psychological factor that matters a lot.
Similarity.
Oh, that is interesting.
People naturally trust people who feel familiar. If the interviewer feels like you have a similar personality, similar values, or similar communication style, they often feel more comfortable with you.
So, if the interviewer is very serious and formal, maybe you should not be too casual.
Exactly. And if the interviewer is warm and relaxed, you can also relax a little more.
So, part of interview success is learning to read the room.
Very much. Pay attention to the energy of the interviewer. Adapt naturally.
That makes so much sense.
Here is another hidden psychological truth. People remember emotions more than facts.
Wow.
Think about it. The interviewer may not remember every detail of your answer.
But they will remember how you made them feel.
Exactly. They might think, that candidate seemed positive. That candidate felt difficult. That candidate made me feel relaxed. That candidate seemed trustworthy.
So, even if your answers are technically correct, the emotional feeling matters.
Absolutely. That is why warmth matters, kindness matters, confidence matters.
This is making me realize that interviews are not just tests.
They are relationships.
That is such a powerful way to think about it.
It is. You are building trust in a very short amount of time.
So, what are some ways people can build trust faster?
First, be consistent. If your resume says one thing, but your answers say something different, trust disappears.
That is true.
Second, be honest when you don't know something.
I think people are afraid to do that.
They are, but saying, I haven't done that before, but I'm excited to learn, is often much stronger than pretending.
Because honesty feels trustworthy.
Exactly. Another way to build trust is by speaking specifically.
What do you mean?
Weak candidates speak in vague language. They say things like, I helped with many projects, or I was responsible for many things.
That sounds forgettable.
Exactly. Strong candidates give details. They say, I managed a team of 5 people, or I reduced customer complaints by 20%,
Specific details sound more believable.
because they are more believable.
There's another interesting thing about interviews.
What is it?
People often remember confidence more than perfection.
That is very true.
Someone can make a small mistake, forget one answer, or feel nervous for a moment, but if they stay calm, it usually doesn't destroy the interview.
Exactly. Interviewers know that people get nervous.
They don't expect perfection.
No, they expect authenticity. They expect effort. They expect honesty.
That should make people feel better,
It should, because many people lose interviews before they even begin.
because they tell themselves, I'm going to fail.
Exactly. Your mindset matters. If you walk into an interview thinking, I'm not good enough, your body language, your voice, and your answers will reflect that belief.
So, what should people tell themselves instead?
Tell yourself, I have value. I have something to offer. I do not need to be perfect. I just need to be prepared and real.
That sounds much healthier.
Confidence is not believing you are better than everyone else.
It is believing that you are good enough.
Exactly.
That sentence alone is worth remembering.
It really is. Because the people who do best in interviews are not always the smartest or most talented.
They are often the people who believe in themselves.
Exactly. And that belief changes the way they speak, the way they sit, the way they answer questions, and the way other people see them.
There's one more thing that people should remember.
What is that?
Even if you fail an interview, it doesn't define you.
Absolutely not.
One rejection does not mean you are a failure.
And 10 rejections do not mean you are a failure either.
Sometimes life is simply taking you in a different direction.
Or teaching you lessons you need before the right opportunity arrives.
That is such an important message for people who are struggling right now.
It is. Because job searching can be emotionally exhausting.
Especially when you keep hearing no.
But every interview gives you practice. Every rejection teaches you something. Every mistake makes you stronger.
And eventually, if you keep learning and improving, you become the person who walks into interviews with confidence.
You become the person who knows how to communicate, connect, and stay calm.
And one day, instead of getting another rejection email,
You get the call.
the call that changes everything.
The call that says, "We would like to offer you the job."
That is such a beautiful moment.
And when that moment comes, you will realize that all the failures before it were preparing you for that success.
So if you're watching this and you failed interviews before, don't give up,
Learn from them, grow from them, and keep going.
because your next interview could be completely different.
And your next opportunity could change your life.
If this conversation helped you, write "I am ready" in the comments below,
And tell us the biggest mistake you think you have made in interviews.
because your answer might help someone else too.
And if you want more English lessons, confidence tips, and real-life communication skills, subscribe to Talk Easy Daily.
Because the way you speak can open doors you never thought possible.
And remember this,
You don't need to be perfect.
you just need to believe that you belong in the room.